Well, good morning and welcome to City Talk. It's a weekly radio program, podcast, and television program that we do here at the city to educate and inform you about the operation of the work of the city and tell you what's going on. And today I've got the pleasure of visiting with our city manager as of right now, Wiley Stem III. Wiley's been with the city. I'm going to recap a few things. I'm not going to get into full detail, but you've been with the city officially for 44 years, but you've always said on the side that you were here 50 years because you started when you were 17 years old.
That's right.
As a surveyor, and you're leaving as a city manager. This is airing the week of your final council meeting, which is July the 7th, and your last day will be at the end of this week. And that's got to be a challenging time for you because a celebration of that type of a career and everything. But in this short 28 or 29 minutes that we have, we're going to try to capsulize all of these years that Wiley has done things. And early comments you want to make before I kind of jump in with some of the stuff?
Well, you and I were talking earlier about how it's been the last few weeks, and it has been a little bit of an emotional roller coaster ride because I have such great memories of the accomplishments and the great people I've gotten to work with over the years, and I can say that that I'm credited with doing a lot of things, but I've not done one thing by myself. Since I've been here, it's always been a team effort, and in the last 20 plus years, it's a lot of great council and mayoral leadership, and it's an interesting transition because Bradley Ford, that's becoming our city manager on July 12th or 13th, something right in there, it's really taking the reins and doing a great job, and it's an honor for me to be here and to get to work with him in this transition and to work with the mayor and the council in it. So, but a little bit of emotional roller coaster ride but lots of great memories, and looking forward to the transition.
One of the things that I wrote down to be sure, because I know it's something you and I talked about on a couple of occasions, maybe just earlier prior to this, is the relationships that you've established and built here. Because part of the things that our citizens need to remember is the fact that you not only have a 44-year plus career here, but your dad was here for how many years was he with the city?
Like from 46 to 63, maybe, right? Something like that.
And your grandfather was on the police force for Waco.
Yeah, for a long time.
Your uncle Alva was head of Parks and Recreation.
Right.
He was a STEM name.
40 years.
Yeah.
And then his son, Alva Jr., was a city employee for 25 years.
That's tremendous. Over 100 years, whether 150, 200 years probably. But a lot of things. But the thing that I have, and I've told you this before, I think the greatest thing about you is that you recognize the importance and the value of the people who work here. You value the people because you know that we're a very heavily service-oriented business.
Right.
And you always advocate for the city employees, which is not always the case with the city manager, but you recognize that to have good service, you have to have good people. They have to stay. You have to pay them decently, stay them competitively in the market, and provide maybe good benefits and stuff. Talk about that attitude that, and how important that is.
Well, I guess it comes from my upbringing, and where I started the city actually working in the field is, I think I recognized that there's very limited things you can do from City Hall without a great staff out there in the field that looks the customer in the eye every day and picks up the trash and responds to the police calls and the fire calls and the water calls and runs the rec centers and in Parks and Rec and all the great departments that we have. I recognize the value that they bring to this organization and how important they are. And, the city's not much without all of that. That's what I think our average citizen feels like they paid their taxes for. And so I think it's important to recognize that, and I've tried to communicate that in everything I put out to the organization, that I value them and I realize how important they are.
Well, and we appreciate that, and I think that also is seen in your concern, an interest in making sure that there's a continuance of management services. When you pick Bradley Ford as your, I mean, that did not come without a lot of good thought, because you picked somebody that I think, as we all agree, is going to be an excellent follow-up to a long tradition of good city managers. Right. And I think that's very critical to the organization. One of the things we kind of talked about a little bit, I know you're proud of and want to mention some of the things, is how Waco has become a regional supplier and a regional host, I guess it would be, for many successful projects. And I'm not necessarily going to go down all the list, but everything. But and I'd like to comment on some, or all of them for that matter. Sure. The health district, for example.
Right. Yeah.
And the radio system, and just a couple of
Right. Yeah. We and I wasn't involved in it when they formed the health district board, but it is a countywide board that helps guide our health district initiatives, and currently chaired by our council member John Kennard. And but it's just a great partnership that we've all of us working together. The cities around Waco and McLennan County have done a really good job of I guess extending the value of the tax dollars that we get by all working together. And that the health district is an important one. We built a public safety radio system in the early 90s, and we've expanded it a number of times, and many of the cities are now on that. The volunteer fire departments are moving that direction. McLennan County Judge Scott Felton has been a leader in that, and the county is funding some additional infrastructure to support that being a countywide system. And I think that's a great partnership that will pay huge public safety dividends for all of the residents of McLennan County, not just Waco. And then the other one I think that I was really proud of is that when Malcolm Duncan was mayor, we partnered with the county and started the development of a regional water plan for McLennan County. That the goal is to extend the life of the aquifer, the Trinity Aquifer in McLennan County, so that all the rural water systems can use that aquifer, hopefully forever, and we can get some of the larger users off of it and put them on surface water. Because if the aquifer goes away, which it's based on the way we're using it now, in the next 30 or 40 years, it will be in major decline, then we have to pick up that water from either Lake Waco or some other source. But the Brazos River Authority is a very important partner in all this. They're working with us, and Judge Felton's taken on the leadership role there and done a great job and got some federal grants to help us put that plan together. And I'm really proud of that because it just shows how we're working together for the benefit of all our citizens. And then we have a great partnership with the seven cities being in that partnership of the Waco Metropolitan Area Regional Sewer System, where City of Waco runs a regional sewer treatment system for all the cities, and everybody contributes to that. And so we have 2 wastewater treatment plants instead of 7 or 8. And it's just smart business, and it's really good, and it shows a lot of trust and faith between the cities, and that's one of the things I'm most proud of, is the relationships we've built with the cities around Waco and in McLennan County to be a true partner with them, and I hope that continues.
Well, it's very vital, and you brought up some very good points, but it takes communication, and it takes the right personalities, and I think that's one of the things you've brought is the kind of willingness and togetherness personality to draw these people together. Because you're talking about the radio system, because I know everybody was on their own radio frequency, and when something happened in between the areas, they couldn't talk to one another. That's right. And so that whole regionalization, and it helps, like you said, to pool the tax dollars, right, and make them more productive per dollar, right, as we all do that together. Yeah. I know water is a huge thing in your world. I've always said, if you ever want to start Wiley talking and get him talking for hours, just mention the word water, because you carry with you a lot of knowledge, and I'm going to just say of the underground of Waco. And I don't mean the crime or anything underground, but I'm talking about what's under the streets. It's amazing when I sit in meetings with you and you're starting to talk about the pipes and the things and water, wastewater, sewer. You know the piping of this thing, this whole area, really. And that's so valuable, and that's what you carry with you, and we're going to hopefully tap on that for a regular basis. But
well, I tell you, I was fortunate to, I guess, kind of just find myself involved with a couple of the water superintendent and the wastewater superintendent back in the early 80s. I was helping them. I was working in another department, but I was helping them acquire some equipment. Ended up going over there and work with them and being over what was water distribution and wastewater collection. And these two guys, they knew the systems really well, Jack Carswell and Ernest White, and they taught me a lot about those systems and also taught me how to treat people, how to get people to work for you, and I've never forgotten those things. But so that kind of piqued my interest in water. And then years later, when I had an opportunity to come to the city manager's office, the first project I was handed was the Lake Waco pool rise. And so I naturally had an interest in it. Well, I took the contracts, the big box of contracts between the federal government and the city of Waco that built the Lake Waco that's there now. When it was originally a city dam and a city lake, it became a core reservoir in a 1958 contract. So I was reading all those contracts, and I got to the end of the 1958 contract. My dad signed it. So if I lacked interest, I didn't after that. And he was still alive, so I called him and talked to him about it. He kind of explained to me what was going on at the time and how Jack Colgan and Harlan Fintrist were the ones that lobbied for that in Congress and got that done. And so there's just a lot of history there with Waco. So that project really became, my dad used to always say, a labor of love for me. And it took a long time for us to pull that off. And from the time that the project actually started, former city manager David Smith wrote a letter to the BRA, to Carson Hogue at the BRA, to initiate the study in 1979. We impounded the water September 1st, 2003.
That's 7 feet additional.
Yeah, 7 feet additional water in Lake Waco. It took us 24 years to do that.
Now, the citizens of Waco paid for that.
That's right. They did.
So that's not the Corps doing that. They built the bowl, the dam that was finished in the 60s. But then that raising of the pool, like you said, which gave us that extra, how many ever acre feet, 20,000 or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, 20,000 acre
Yeah,
feet.
that's a lot of extra water and more capacity that we need.
Increased our water supply by 30%.
Yeah. When did we, and you mentioned Jack Colgan and some of those early Fintress and some of those other, when and how did we obtain the ownership rights to the call, as it may be, to the water that's in the lake? Well, the initial water was 1929 permit, and that was a mayor, I'm trying to remember his name, that built the original Lake Waco. They sold bonds to do it. And then in 58, when they combined, when they raised it, built a new dam and raised it another 20,000 acre feet, it was 60. And then this last one was 20,000. So we have 1929 water rights, 1958 water rights, and 1984 water rights. The last 20,000 acre feet was permitted in 1984, but not impounded till 2003. And Waco's very fortunate. Those are very senior water rights. For instance, most of BRA's water rights, I believe, were 1950. So we have our original 40,000 acre feet of water is 1929, which is senior to that. And so Waco has a great history of putting together a really good plan when it comes to water. And we're very fortunate to do that. And I think we've made the most of it. Yeah. Well, that's, when you look back at the history of the challenges that we've had, just going through the early, and I love telling that story when I take prospective employees around on a tour and things, like talking about how we used to take the water out of the river, and that was not going to be enough sustainable water for our community. And then the lake was built and it was expanded, and then we own the rights to the water. And then we took all the political challenges that we had with the dairies and the bad taste and odor and the geosmin and all that kind of stuff, and then coming up with a DAF filter, which generated a larger capacity to treat. So, so many things, and you've been a part of that, and a major part of it, and done it with a lot of joy, I guess, and kind of a hobby to a certain extent. But a lot of political challenges and things like that too, because just talk a little bit about the challenges we had with, and I know you always refer to Mayor Linda Etheridge as being such a strong advocate and help go through all that. That's really some of the things. I'm glad you brought that up, because in
in every major project I've been involved in or that I've observed from a distance. When it gets right down to it, mayor and the council, how they engage and how they initiate the process that where they can be involved and they're approving the things that need to be done to get whatever the big project is. In this case, let's talk about Lake Waco. They just play a huge role in that. Linda Etheridge engaged with the Corps of Engineers and with the federal government, with our congressman's office, and really saved the citizens of Waco millions of dollars in the way she did that. And it was something as a staff member I really couldn't do because she was the top elected official from Waco, Texas, and she just made the most of it. And then she was followed by mayors, May Jackson, Virginia Dupuy, Jim Bush, I don't want to miss anybody, and Malcolm Duncan Jr. and Mike Morrison was before her. And he was involved in the perchlorate issue out at McGregor and made a huge difference working with TCQ on that. But in every one of those things, whether it's now COVID-19 and other issues that we have that Mayor Deaver is stepping forward, the mayor stepping forward really helps staff get things done. And they put you over the top in getting a big project done because inevitably you run into state officials, you run into federal officials, and having that top elected official step up and having a council that's supportive of what you're doing, because our council has approved tens of millions of dollars worth of water projects that made a difference for our community. And when we were at Lake Waco, that project was $29.3 million. And the council approved it and basically gave me the authority, gave the city manager the authority to implement the entire project. So we had the authority to spend $29.3 million and get that 7 feet of water impounded, and we did it. And it's that kind of trust and that kind of support that makes a difference for Waco. And great leadership is it's hard to calculate the value that great leadership brings, but it's been great for Waco.
You just joined us. We're visiting Wiley Stem. He is our retiring city manager after 44 years of hard, dedicated, loving work that you've done with the city. A little more than 44 years, but water is without a question one of the greatest things that we have, and any community could have, especially in Texas, because, and I try to remind people that our citizens don't have to go through a lot of the things other cities in Texas do, water rationing or curtailing and every other and all this kind of stuff. And that's thanks for great leadership and, like you say, the political elected officials and things involved in that too. Some of the other things that I know you've worked very hard with and very proud of is the relationships we have with other people. Some of the universities we have, Baylor, MCC, TSTC. Talk about some of that, because I know education is one of the three-legged things in the Prosper Waco: health, education, and financial literacy. And we've talked a little bit about the health district and that role that the city does. But education is an extremely important commodity, and talk about that.
Yeah, it is. And when we've had great partnerships with Baylor through the years, and when we built the wetlands, Baylor stepped in and did the education component and helped us with the development over there. Their department over there really stepped in and made a huge difference. And of course, the school was very supportive of that, and they still are very involved in that. And that's just one of many partnerships we have with Baylor University to make Waco a better place.
The Mammoth site comes to mind.
The Mammoth site, certainly. And then MCC, we worked closely with the president, Michaelis, when he was out there, and since then, Dr. Johnette McCowan, to build that public safety training facility out there, where the city donated the land and some of the resources to get it in, but MCC basically funded it, and now they run both our police and fire academy out there. And that was a huge partnership. And then TSTC has just been at the forefront of technological training and making a huge difference for Waco. I wish we could get a few of their graduates to stay in Waco and have jobs here, but they have been such a force out there, and we actually have an agenda item to help them with the bond issue on the next council meeting. So I think we have a great partnership with all three of the higher education, and with the school districts, we try to work closely with them too. And so I think this council and previous councils have set a tone of governmental cooperation that makes a big difference for our taxpayers.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot of other agencies and state, for example, with a huge Interstate 35 project coming through here that you all had to work with. We've worked with, I remember back in the 2000 area when we were talking about the closing of our VA hospital. What a strong political challenge that was, but how our council and management all together joined together to save that hospital and make it a place of excellence, as it's now labeled.
Right. Yeah.
So many things like that. Now we have other challenges still facing us, and you've contributed to that too. I know, for example, we're looking at, of course, a new landfill location. That's a new challenge, and so there's ongoing continually as a city and a community grows as we are. But you mentioned early on in the program how the other cities, the other 6 primarily, but we got a lot more than that, though, by the time you take McGregor and Lorena and some of the West and some of those other ones. But those are just great partnerships that you and the mayors get together and talk a little more. Yeah.
Well, we have a call every 2 weeks on Wednesday afternoon. So this afternoon at 3 o'clock, we have a call with the area city managers. And it basically, we started it. Kevin Evans, the city manager of McGregor, you mentioned McGregor a while ago, really kind of kicked this off so that we could all talk about COVID and how we're responding to the pandemic. And, of course, we get into some other discussions in there, too. But it kind of goes back to, I think, we have all these cities and the city managers, we have a great group of city managers in the communities around Waco, and they all recognize how important it is for all of us to work together. Does it mean we're all going to agree all the time on everything? No, it doesn't. But we have mutual respect, and we try to treat them right, and they are very forthcoming in helping us with things that we need help with. So, and that again, that brings value to the taxpayers and helps our county and region and our community grow. Yeah. Very positive things.
Well, that regional respect you just used, that filters down not only from management and councils, the various regional councils, but down to our citizens, a service that we all work for in all the areas we deal with. So if you don't have that cooperation and working relationship at the top end, how are our citizens going to be properly served? And that's going to cause them to be upset with the leadership. Right. So I think it's a positive contagious virus, as it may be, of strong leadership. And you've been a great part of that. And that's just so important to think about, too.
Well, I also understand that you can have the best initiatives going on throughout the community, but you still got to pick up the trash.
Yep.
And you still got to respond to the police calls and the fire calls. You still got to have a viable water system, good street program, the basic things that people pay their property taxes for and pay their water and sewer bills and garbage bills for. Those things have got to be there. And, people expect quality parks, and Waco's done a great job of that. There's a lot that still needs to be done there. But I think that I've tried to instill that in the organization, that these initiatives that go on around the community are really important, but we don't want to forget those things that our citizens expect every day.
Yep.
And so we've tried to emphasize that and place some importance on that and let those departments know how much we value them.
Yep. I know we're right in the middle of the budget process right now because we're on an October 1st fiscal year. All cities pretty much in Texas are. And we're looking at the challenges that we're facing there because of COVID, things like that. But I think we're realizing we're a little better off than we thought we were going to be in certain areas. We're certainly monitoring it. Sales tax is a challenge, obviously property valuations. But the thing that our citizens need to always remember is the fact that we have to have a balanced budget. We can't be like the federal government and just spend money unwisely. We have to be like you and like me. We have to spend no more than what we can bring in, and that's a big budget process. Talk a little bit about the budget, not necessarily specific this year, but how critical that is and how the support of the council in that leadership role to give you as a city management the proper guidance to be able to then develop those programs that you just said citizens expect and demand.
Right. Well, we had 2 retreat council meetings this spring, an opportunity for the council to talk about what their priorities are and an opportunity for them to talk about the vision for the city and the mission and our goals and objectives. And really we do those as our budget office is developing where we stand on the budget. And so when we sit down, when we get ready to sit down and look at the budget, we've got those council priorities. So we try to, the initiatives that we have in the budget, try to align them with the council priorities so that when we do bring a budget to the council, and we've had continuous discussions about this all along, there's, ideally there are no surprises, and it's aligned with what the council would want. And certainly there will be some tweaking, but I think we've really got a great budget process now, and the key to it is engaging the council early and making sure that all the work that our staff ends up doing after that is pretty much in line with where the council wants us to go.
Well, I know through the years, the council has given and developed a strong financial policy, management policy that helps guide you as a city manager, and the city managers evolve into different generations as it is. And that's been a very strong thing that the city councils have done through the years. Talk real quick. We've got a couple of minutes left.
And it's helped us in this revenue shortfall with COVID. Yeah. It's put us in a much better position than we would have been had we not had such conservative financial policies, because we have a strong fund balance. We're challenged by sales tax collections and property taxes and things like that are being impacted by COVID. But certainly we're in a much stronger position because of the council's leadership and a very conservative, strong financial policy.
I know all that has to said, but, it still takes the right personality to be able to deal with 1,500 plus employees, the council. But the council, through the years, and I want you to make a quick comment, we've got a couple of minutes left, just about the way the councils that we've been fortunate to have for decades have worked so closely together and care personally about that.
Yeah, I do think our council does a great job of working closely with staff and with each other at council meetings, stay on the same page, stay focused on what's important to Waco, and the direction and the policy leadership that they provide for staff just has made a huge difference for our citizens. I talked a little bit earlier about some of the projects that council members just made them happen, and I recognize that. I think all, certainly senior staff members, need to recognize that the city moves in the direction the council wants it to move in, and staff's responsibility is to make sure they have the information they need to make those good decisions.
Well, while it's really hard to wrap up 50-year, I'm going to say 50 years, 44 at least, career with the city. I mean, I can't tell you how much I enjoy working with you and working under you as it is, and your leadership.
Same here.
Well, it is fun.
Yeah.
When you love what you do, I like to tell people the fact that I can tell whether an employee of the city of Waco basically owns their job, owns the city as it is, or not. And there's some people that work for the city and they get paid. That's fine. But you have definitely not only owned the city, but you have such a passion, and that shows. And that's why we have had good leadership. And that came from your grandfather, your uncle, and your dad, who have all been a part of this. And what a career. And, of course, I'm not going to say goodbye to you because I know you're going to be around here, because between you and Dale Fissler and Larry Groth, I know you all meet regularly.
Right.
And I know Bradley's going to be topping in on you and that type of thing, and we need that always.
Yeah.
What a career to look forward, and we hope you enjoy your retirement. Real quick, what are you going to do for in your retirement now? Well,
a lot of the plans that we had have been somewhat interrupted by the COVID-19, and but I'm just excited. Tonette's been at home for almost 4 years now, and I think she's a little apprehensive about me coming, but we're looking forward to spending time together with family, grandkids. We've got grandkids that are involved in softball, and they still are playing a little bit of softball, and we got a new grandson, and so we're excited to be involved in that and just spend time together. We enjoy. We're going to live in Waco. Waco's our home, and so we're excited about it. So Bradley Ford's going to be my city manager.
There you go. We love it. Well, great. Thank you so much for that, and thank you all for joining us. Wiley Stem, our city manager, who's retiring as effective July the 12th. He has one more council meeting on the 7th, but he's retiring from our account. Thank you so much. We hope you'll join us again next week for more information about the City of Waco on City Talk. This program is produced by the Municipal Information Department of the City of Waco and is provided as a public service by this station.